You've posted every day for 4 months, and you have less momentum now than when you started. That's not a failure of discipline. That's a symptom of something nobody in your feed is willing to name. Consistency is the most repeated piece of advice in the entire creator space. Post every day. Show up. Trust the process. And on the surface, it sounds so reasonable that questioning it feels like questioning gravity. But I want you to think about something. If consistency were actually the answer, everyone who's been consistent would have results. And you know that's not what's happening. You know people, maybe you are one of them, who have been ruthlessly consistent and have almost nothing to show for it. 80 videos in, and the views look the same as video number 3. 6 months of daily posts, and the follower count moves like it's wading through cement. They did the thing. They did exactly what they were told to do, and the algorithm just shrugged. So either those people are broken, or the advice is incomplete. I'm going with door number 2. Here's what I think is actually going on. Consistency has become a cover story. It's become the thing people say when they don't want to do the harder diagnostic work of figuring out why something isn't landing. Because just keep going is easy to prescribe. It requires no analysis, no taste, no uncomfortable feedback. It lets you feel productive while avoiding the one conversation that actually matters, which is whether what you're making is any good and whether anyone has a reason to care about it right now. I knew a guy, let's call him Marcus, who spent 11 months making videos about personal finance. 3 a week, 35 weeks, over 100 videos. His thumbnails were clean, his audio was fine, he had a ring light and a decent mic, and a posting schedule you could set a clock to. He was the poster child for consistency. He topped out at 340 subscribers. And the reason wasn't effort. The reason was that every single one of his videos sounded like a textbook somebody had already read. He'd cover the same topics every other finance channel covered, in the same order, with the same framing, using the same terms. Emergency fund, index funds, avoid lifestyle creep. He wasn't saying anything wrong. He just wasn't saying anything that made you stop scrolling. Consistency multiplied by 0 is still 0. That's the part nobody wants to hear. You can increase the frequency all you want, but if the underlying signal is weak, if the ideas are generic, if the angle is borrowed, if the viewer can predict your point before you make it, then you're just producing more of something no one was asking for, and doing it faster. Compare Marcus to someone like a creator I stumbled on about a year ago. She had maybe 40 videos on her channel, not 100, 40. Some of them were weeks apart. By any consistency metric, she was doing it wrong. But every single video had a hook that made you feel like she knew something you didn't. She'd take a personal finance topic and reframe it through a lens that was genuinely hers. Talking about money the way an immigrant kid talks about money, not the way a finance bro talks about money. She had a point of view, a real one, not manufactured, not borrowed from a tweet thread, and she had more subscribers in 5 months than Marcus had in 11. She wasn't more consistent, she was more interesting. And interesting compounds in a way that consistency alone never does. Now, I want to be careful here because I'm not saying consistency doesn't matter. It does. But it matters the way oxygen matters to a fire. It's necessary. It's not sufficient. And dumping more oxygen on a pile of wet logs doesn't start a blaze. The fire needs fuel. It needs a spark. Consistency is the oxygen. Your taste, your angle, your ability to say something that lands. That's the fuel. And most advice skips straight to the oxygen. There's a reason for that, by the way. Telling someone to be more consistent is clean. It's binary. Either you posted today or you didn't. It's measurable. It's trackable. It fits in a spreadsheet. Telling someone their ideas aren't sharp enough, that's messy. That's subjective. That's the kind of feedback that makes people defensive and makes the advice giver look like a jerk. So instead, everyone just says, show up, stay the course, the results will come. It's the creative equivalent of telling someone with a broken engine to just keep turning the key. Let me put this differently, because I think there are actually 2 failure modes here, and most people can't tell which one they're in. Failure mode 1, you're inconsistent. You post in bursts, disappear for 3 weeks, come back, disappear again. Your audience never builds a habit around you because you haven't built one around them. This is the one that all the consistency advice is designed to fix. And for this person, yes, the advice is correct. Just show up, build the rhythm. Stop treating creation like something you do when you feel inspired and start treating it like something you do on Tuesday. Failure mode 2. You're consistent but stagnant. You show up every time. The rhythm is there, but the substance isn't evolving. You're producing at a steady rate, but you're producing the same thing at the same level, with the same ideas and the same framing. And 6 months later, You've essentially published the same video 60 times with different titles. The entire internet is yelling advice at failure mode 1. Almost nobody is talking about failure mode 2. And failure mode 2 is where most stuck creators actually live. You want to know the tell? If you've been posting for 3+ months and your best performing content is from month 1, you're in failure mode 2. You haven't gotten better, you've just gotten busier. So what does getting better actually look like? Because improve your content is advice just as useless as be consistent if nobody defines what it means. I'll tell you what I think it means. I think it means 3 things, and they're all uncomfortable. First, it means developing a genuine point of view, not a niche, a point of view. A niche is, I make videos about productivity. A point of view is, most productivity advice is designed to make you feel busy, not to make you effective, and I'm going to show you the difference. One of those is a category. The other is a reason someone would choose you over the 800 other people in that category. Most creators have a niche. Almost none of them have a point of view, and the audience can feel the difference instantly, even if they can't articulate it. It's the difference between a channel you watch and a channel you subscribe to. Second, it means studying what works, not to copy it, but to understand the mechanics underneath it. When a video from someone in your space takes off, most people either ignore it or try to make their version of the same topic. Neither of those is useful. What's useful is asking why that video worked structurally. Was it the hook, the pacing, the specificity, the emotional angle? Did it promise something and deliver it faster than expected? Did it reframe something the audience thought they already understood? You need to develop an eye for the engineering of attention, not so you can mimic it, but so you can build your own version of it with your own material. That's a skill, and like any skill, you get better at it by practicing deliberately, not by just showing up and hoping repetition does the work for you. Third, and this is the one people really don't want to hear, it means being willing to make something different from what you made last week. Not just a different topic, a different approach, a different energy, a different structural choice. Because the algorithm rewards signals of improvement and novelty. It surfaces content that generates new engagement patterns, not content that generates the same flat engagement it generated last time. If your last 30 videos all have roughly the same click-through rate and roughly the same average view duration, the platform has learned exactly what to expect from you. And what it expects is mediocrity. Consistency taught it that. Think about that for a second. Your consistency might actually be training the algorithm to ignore you. That's not a reason to stop posting. That's a reason to start treating each piece of content like a small experiment instead of a factory output. The consistent creator posts and moves on. The improving creator posts, studies the data, identifies what moved and what didn't, forms a hypothesis, and makes the next one differently. One of those people is disciplined, the other one is dangerous, and platforms reward dangerous. I want to come back to Marcus for a second, because his story has an ending most people wouldn't predict. After 11 months, he didn't quit, but he did something that looked like quitting from the outside. He stopped posting for 3 weeks. During those 3 weeks, he watched his 30 best performing videos and his 30 worst performing videos, and he figured out the actual difference between them. It wasn't production quality, it wasn't topics. It was that his best videos all had a moment in the first 45 seconds where he said something slightly confrontational, something that made the viewer go, "Wait, what?" His worst videos were the ones where he was informative from the jump, accurate, helpful, and completely forgettable. So he came back and restructured everything around that one insight, led with the confrontational angle, made the information serve the argument instead of the other way around. Same topics, same niche, wildly different results. He hit 10,000 subscribers in the next 4 months, not because he got more consistent. He'd always been consistent, because he got sharper. He found the thing about his content that actually made people stay, and he built around it. 3 weeks of thinking outperformed 11 months of posting. That's not a story about quitting. That's a story about the difference between motion and progress. And most consistency advice can't tell the two apart. So here's what I'd actually tell someone who's been consistent and isn't seeing results. Stop posting for a week. I know that sounds like heresy. I know every creator coach on the internet will tell you the worst thing you can do is break the chain. But the chain isn't helping you if it's chaining you to a process that doesn't work. Take that week and do an honest audit. Look at your last 20 pieces of content and ask yourself, if I had never seen this channel before and I saw this in my feed, would I click? Would I stay past 30 seconds? Would I remember it an hour later? Would I describe it to someone? If the answer is no to most of those, and be honest, really honest, uncomfortably honest, then consistency is not your problem. Clarity is. Sharpness is. Point of view is. Then come back, post again, but post like someone who has something specific to say, not like someone who has a schedule to keep. The difference between a creator who makes it and a creator who stays stuck is almost never frequency. It's almost never discipline. Those things matter, but they're table stakes. The difference is that the creator who makes it is iterating. They're not just showing up, they're showing up better each time. Each piece of content is informed by the last one. There's a feedback loop between creation and analysis, between output and taste, between what they made and what they learned from making it. Consistency without iteration is just organized stagnation. And I think deep down, most people who are stuck already know this. They can feel it. There's a specific kind of frustration that comes from doing everything you were told to do and getting nothing back. And instead of questioning the advice, you question yourself. You think you're not working hard enough, not posting enough, not optimizing enough. So you double down on the same approach with more intensity, which is exactly the wrong move, because the approach was the problem the whole time. The people who told you to be consistent weren't wrong. They were just incomplete. They gave you step 1 and forgot to mention that step 1 without step 2 is a treadmill. Step 2 is get better on purpose, not by accident, not by osmosis, not by hoping that volume will eventually teach you something, by actively, deliberately, almost obsessively studying what makes your best work and engineering more of it, by treating your content like a craft that can be sharpened, not a habit that just needs to be maintained. You don't need to post more, you need to post like you mean it, and there's a version of you that knows exactly what that means, because you felt the difference between a piece of content you were proud of and one you posted because it was Thursday. Stop posting because it's Thursday. Start posting because you figured something out, and the viewer needs to hear it before they scroll past. That energy, that specific energy of someone who actually has something to say, is the only algorithm that has never changed.